If you clicked on this video, maybe you know something about Warhammer 40k. That may be thanks to the tabletop, the books, the games. Maybe you've heard about it thanks to a friend, some cool animation on YouTube, or well, the memes. Now, have you ever wondered how a setting like 40k would have looked like if instead of going into the grim dark future we go back to the World War I era? And instead of going against the forces of chaos, we are fighting against the devil? From the Bible? Well, that's exactly what Trench Crusade is all about. A couple of weeks ago, when the community was in flames because of some decisions taken by Games Workshop, I found a tweet promoting a Warhammer-like setting with its own tabletop in the work, and it really caught my attention, and guess what? It comes with a PDF talking about the lore, so without further ado, let's get right into the video. We just have to jump back around the year 1000 or 1100. During the First Crusades, the Templar Knights took Jerusalem, but a group of them, whether under hellish influence or maybe they just were infected there, performed a ritual that basically opened up a portal to hell on Holy Land, a literal physical gate to the underworld. The princes and demons who ruled over it were now free to conquer the earth. And for the next 800 years, the Crusade was now fought against the forces of hell with the church and humanity using teeth and nails to repel them, aided with machinery just as dark and twisted as that of hell. We also have a timeline to give us an idea of how much did human history change. The most important things to take into consideration are as follows. On the year 1100, the heretical armies of the Third Circle conquered most of the Levant, which in modern day it refers to Syria and its surrounding territories. On the year 1102, the city of Antioch in modern Turkey becomes a walled city against the forces of hell, and in the year 1009, the Islamic factions formed the Great Sultanate, erecting the Great Iron Wall of Iskandar, stopping the heretics. On the year 1165, the Old Man of the Mountains and his Hashishins protect the fortress of Alamut. If that sounds like Assassin's Creed to you, it's because it's the same historical figure. From the year 1215 to 1306, the Triclavianism Wars takes place. An internal conflict in the church over whether Jesus was crucified with 3 nails and pierced by a spear instead of just 4 nails. This conflict spanned over 100 years, giving the heretics an upper hand. This allowed the demon Beelzebub to unleash the Black Riot upon the world between the years 1340 and 1350. This replaces the Black Plague in our timeline, starting the Corpse Wars. Now, Beelzebub in this setting is more or less just like Nargle on 40k. As far as I've seen, Trench Crusade uses its interpretation as Lord of the Flies. He is the spreader of the plague and bearer of illnesses. He created the Black Plague, or well, the Black Riot, which is basically a zombie virus. Later, on the year 1429, the 11th Saint John of Arc expels the zombies from continental Europe. On the year 1477, the city of Argos in Greece was taken by God and ceased to exist. I looked it up and it seems that Argos in real life is believed to be the oldest human settlement in Europe, so maybe it has to do something to do with that fact, but I'm not really sure. And in case it was not already obvious, there is no discovery of the Americas in this timeline. In the year 1503, the war prophet Angelos, guided by Saint Eligius, discovers the Orichalcum steel, giving them a chance to withstand demonic missiles and further upgrade their artillery. Now, on the second half of the 16th century, Antioch was destroyed by an infernal superweapon. The Byzantine Empire and Constantinople fell to the demon Marquis Chimaris. The heretics were about to take advantage of the opening, but the Sacred Order of the Dragon halted them, impaling their bodies in Wallachia, south of modern Romania. And in the year 1595, the walls of New Antioch were erected. See New Antioch and the heretics as Cadia and the Eye of Terror, before Abaddon did his things, you know? In the year 1666, in a surprise attack, the heretics took Gibraltar by sea, using it as a base of operations in continental Europe and giving them access to the Atlantic Sea, forcing the Crown of England to fortify the Dover Castle, thus erecting the White Cliff Fortress. A lot of stuff happens in between, and in the year 1805, the forces of hell took down the fleet of England, leading to, in 1866, under directions of the demon Marbas, to the creation of the first submarine, taking a toll on merchant ships and leading to a widespread famine. In the year 1854, also known as the Year of the Broken Trinity, everything went to shit. The heretics managed to kill the Pope, the High Prophetess, and the Roman Emperor at the same time. Now, they were being commanded by the nobles of the Seventh Circle, and proceeded to launch an offensive against the Levant and Europe. After that, 3 years later, the Church began its space program. I'm not sure of the implications of that last one, but it sounds very cool. Finally, we arrive at the 20th century. The Crown of England begins the construction of the mobile fortress of Britain, and in the year 1910, the heretics were defeated at the gates of Córdoba, unable to go farther into Spain. Currently, it's the year 1940. And there's no treaty of Versailles that will save us here. These are the forces of the Church and humanity against hell. Both sides are preparing for greater confrontations in no man's land, in search of ancient relics that may give them an advantage on the battlefield. As is to be expected with all these changes in human history for the last 8 centuries, many things have changed in terms of technological advances. For example, the Divine, seeing the hellish incursion on Holy Land, were forced to take a more active role on helping humanity. They gave the faithful the Orichalcum Steel, for example. But the heretics are not so far behind. They also wield infernal alloys from the depths of Tartarus. But just as is the nature of all things related with demons, these powers comes with a great cost from the user's end. We also have to remember that this is the era of World War I, so variations of chlorine and mustard gas producing the bowels of hell is commonly used by the heretics, as well as capirotes equipped with gas masks by the faithful. They also use something called martyrdom pills, which are basically suicide bombs, only with the certainty that your soul will get to heaven after the explosion, and that you will take a few demons with you, of course. Fairly enough, the elite forces of the Divine use even more esoteric and higher tier weapons. For example, the observers of the Synod of the Strategic Prophecy use a special helmet that allows them to hear the voice of God, allowing them to hear the past, present, and future at the same time. The thing is that mortal bodies are not meant to hear the voice of the Creator, so they must keep a superhuman level of concentration to be able to discern the prophecies amongst so much power, which means that they will never get a moment of peace in their lives, but whatever it takes as long as it helps them to fend off the forces of hell. With that little introduction, we have a bit more information about what this New Antioch is about. The Principality of New Antioch is a fortified city that, for the last 300 years, has been the first and only defense between Eastern Europe and no man's land, which means that, beyond its fortified walls and wastelands of Levant, lies the terrenal domains of hell. As I already said, the city was destroyed in 1545 by an unknown weapon. This is the equivalent of the fall of Constantinople in this timeline, by the way. Therefore, the reconstruction of the city became a top priority. Also, all the settlements in Europe have to pay tribute to the city, to keep it in a position to withstand the incursions of hell. This doesn't come only in form of money or gold, of course. Supplies, provisions, military equipment, machinery, and workers from all parts of Europe and the northern domains of Africa come to New Antioch. Even multiple delegates of the church and kingdoms from all over the continent settle here, to ensure the walls do not falter, since they've understood that if New Antioch falls, all of Europe is lost. All this happens under the watchful eye of the Office of Propagation of Virtue, and while they turn a blind eye to some abuses of power by the soldiers, any deviation of the church doctrine is fiercely punished. The execution of alleged heretics has become a weekly spectacle. Columns of black smoke expels from the factories while new tanks emerge from the forges ready to serve in combat. But the pride and jewel of New Antioch lies under the laboratories of the Mendelist Order, where the church tries to create superhuman communicants, with the cloned flesh and blood of the Redeemer. Yeah, you heard that right. Instead of using the gene seeds of Primarchs to make superhumans, they use an imitation of the blood of Jesus Christ. Despite all this, the reality is that New Antioch could never withstand the full onslaught of the heretical forces. The archdemons and princes compete amongst themselves to gain supremacy over the others, and rarely does one prince take power long enough to launch a proper invasion. Many years may pass without a sign of hell, only to be followed by ruthless assaults. Among the forces of the church we have the aforementioned observers, attuned with the voice of God, that allows them to see future events, and not only that, their premonition also allows them to perform feats that would otherwise be impossible for the average human. Their helmets, full of lenses, helps them tune into the divine frequencies, but all this comes with a cost. They must maintain their focus all the time, or else they would lose their connection forever, leaving a human full of sedative, sleep-deprived, and tired in combat. Now we have the unit that some may have expected from a setting like this. I'm talking about the Paladin. Humans imbued with the blood of the Meta-Christ, extracted from the Mendelist laboratories, enhanced both physically and mentally to fight against the forces of the Abyss. They spend most of their time in seclusion, waiting to be assigned for a special mission that usually include crossing the Veil of Tears straight into the jaws of brimstone, or interrogating some noble demons with holy fire. Since no carnal desire or sinful sight shall fall upon these men, their armor is prepared by blinded and nurtured serf. Despite the efforts of the church, since the destruction of Jerusalem, it has been impossible to extract the materials needed to produce more paladins. Therefore, their patched and rusty armor dates back centuries. Throughout history, 12 of these warriors have existed. Only 9 remain. 2 of them fell in combat and 1 became a traitor, although you wouldn't hear that last one from the church. Now, the simplest unit, so to speak, are the trench pilgrims. Men and women from all over the world hear an angelic call to embark on a pilgrimage through no man's land, to serve the heavens. These pilgrims, usually guided by a prophet, take arms and embark on a crusade through the trenches. These groups are not supervised by the church, but they are given its blessing, as well as the approval of some paladins. These groups have each their own methods of combat, and are made of all types of people. Some even sinners who try to seek atonement. This generally comes in the form of cannon fodder or human bombs that are placed on the front line against the demons. But the hardest type of unit we will find so far are the anchorite shrines. These 4-meter diesel-powered mobile tanks serve both as a war machine and center of fate for the pilgrims. These are full of trinkets and artifacts that pay tribute to the saints of their respective procession, and their interior is covered with hooks and spikes that torture the monks or nun inside them. In case you hadn't noticed, self-flagellation is a common theme among the forces of heaven. These warsuits even come with a Wheel of Catherine, used to torture heretics. Some pilgrims seek to be immolated in this, for they believe that their sacrifice will satisfy God. It should be noted that this practice is sanctioned by the church, although the pilgrims don't really pay that much attention to that. Okay, but that would be on the side of the faithful. What do we have on the side of the forces of hell? The main satanic force on Earth are the heretical legions, raised from the damned populations of Earth. A third of humanity has abandoned God and joined the demonic legions. The spies sent to these lands are mostly captured and returned to New Antioch in the form of eternally screaming heads, marked with runes that mock the Holy Trinity. But those who manage to return to the light speak of horrors beyond the bronze doors. Firstborns sacrificed to statues of Baal, and human flesh sold by the pounds in sinister markets. Inverted pyramids where innocents are thrown to be tortured for days with black metal blades, and cathedrals hanging from volcanic arches in honor of the princes of hell. Among the damned who dwell in the earthly domains of Gehenna, the highest honors are given to those who travel to the portal of hell and give up their soul completely to the cause. But for those who press further and physically enter hell, see their flesh completely burned and in exchange are granted even greater power, with an infernal armor and superhuman strength that allows them to wield larger weapons. Those raised and brought from an early age to the interior of hell and manage to pass the test become candidates for the death commandos in the 7th circle of hell. These are lethal assassins who undergo brutal training in all kinds of weapons and poisons by the guard of the archdemon Beleth. They use a special equipment with poisons extracted from the river Styx and wear stealth generators that use the hearts of innocents and infernal technology to conceal them from the eyes of God. Once the training is complete, they emerge from the abyss as silent ghosts of bloodshed. Among the most infamous of their ranks are the 3 death commandos who took down the High Prophetess, the Pope, and the Emperor. We also have the heretic Chorister. For those born in the dominions of hell who seek to spit on God's face usually achieve this through suicide. But those most devoted and gifted with a powerful voice descend to the inverted pyramids dedicated to the archdemons, where they brand their bodies with runes and cuts as an offering. This ritual ends with them slitting their own throats, emerging as a chorister. The blood of their arteries freezes in the shape of goetic symbols, and use their own severed head as a weapon to channel their power on the battlefield. It is said that New Antioch has wings dedicated to attend those afflicted by the song of a chorister. With all this talk about demons, I think we should get into detail with the nobles of hell. Unfortunately, the lore primer only gives us vague mentions of them. The only one who has a couple of units is Beelzebub. The common interpretation of this entity is the one of the Lord of Flies, and depending on who you ask, he is also the Prince of Gluttony of the 7 deadly sins. On Solomon's Minor Key, the main demon depicted in that book is called Baal, and then again, depending on who you ask, Baal and Beelzebub are the same entity, but here they went with his traditional image. That, as a side note, his name literally means Lord of the Flies. That's because there was a deity worshipped by the Philistines on the ancient city of Akron. They used to make offerings in the shape of meat and food that tended to attract flies and bugs. That's why the Hebrew adopted the name of Lord of Flies to denigrate their god, that was later demonized and seen as a devil. Here on Crusade, he's still the Lord of Flies, a powerful prince of hell associated mainly with the plagues and diseases. He was responsible for creating the Black Grail, a plague more vile than any other sprout of typhus, malaria, flu, cholera, or whatever humans may come up with on a laboratory. Whenever he gains power over the other nobles of hell, the bronze doors unleash a storm of trillions of plague flies, scorpions, and locusts, carrying the Black Grail with them. The only cure they found so far for this illness, both the Sultanate and the Church, is to burn down all biological material infected. For those who receive the gift of Beelzebub with open arms, may become part of the cult of the Black Grail, ascending as a sort of demon, and for those more vicious and degenerated minds, they may also become part of the Order of the Fly, a mockery of the 12 paladins on the Church's side. Okay, I think we'll be leaving this here from today. I know there's more information about the demon forces scattered on Reddit, and we still have to talk about the Sultanate, but I'll be leaving this here for today. Remember to leave a like and subscribe if you like the video, that really helps out the channel. I'll have the next part ready in no time, so thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.